church is supposed to be. Now, the biggest problem that we have, which we have to grapple with now, is that it is a bit difficult to start to really explain and understand what is it. How does it come about, for example? It's a mind issue. What makes you think that somebody is superior to yourself or inferior to yourself? Is it the physical being of that individual? Is it the car? Is it the height? What is it? What is it? I've always mentioned that the human mind is much more of a play game with your psyche, right? The psychology. And when you meet an individual, new or whatever it is, there will be automatic triggers in your mind to measure that in this. You measure that in this. Until he proves or she proves herself otherwise. Seriously. Let's assume we are in church, and the reverend is coming. Church the reverend is coming in, but this reverend comes, is shorter than this thing down there. What is it? Right? Or they're all sitting down, then outside the park, so there are fast and big, heavy vehicles around. And your Musa comes back up on us. And you're going to walk about a jigger up on us. And no smoke. You guys are Africa. And this reverend, we're a pastor. I'm the fool that and the fellow church in the Bible. What does that got to do with your mind? Your mind will naturally create a certain picture, the thing that we talk about, impressions and perceptions, right? It will build something in you. And that is what becomes the basis for your evaluating that particular individual. So, for us to really understand what anti-oppressive practices are, we got quite a lot of trouble to be able to understand and see what we can do. Now, how do we do it? Right? Our understanding of anti-oppressive principles can only help us to effectively address these things. The only way we can address issues of marginalization, stereotyping, and oppression will be for us to understand what are the principles behind the oppressive practices. What principles can we follow in order for us to address issues of oppression, marginalization, and stereotyping? So here, one thing that we are aware of, I think is not necessary, will be the issue of principles. Right? It will be the issue of principles. And second, we need also to understand that when we're talking about issues of oppression, I just try to explain that using this diagram of the social structure, where the top and the lower or the middle in form of a hierarchy. Right? And this type of hierarchy explains to us or shows to us and demonstrates to us the type of relationships that may occur between an individual and an individual, an individual and an institution, and something like that. So, let's see. So, our understanding of the principle of oppression and the principles that can help us address those issues also need us or require us to understand two things. So, one thing that I mentioned was the principles. Number two, it should be, can I move all these things again? Well, it's a very dirty teacher. I have seen this way, that's not to do that. But I look to the right and before, but there is okay. So here, we can look at the issues of interconnectedness, integrations, shifts, and interconnectedness. connectedness. These are things that would be looking at for us to understand why there is this type of situation for individuals. What relationships are there between the top and the bottom, for example? And what connectedness is there between these two categories within that structure? Those to be able to explain to us. Is there inequality, for example, anywhere power is shared? And also, do we have to be looking at issues of class structure and status? Right? Are we going to be looking at issues of gender, for example, sexual orientation, age, disability, all sorts of things around? Are those things that are going to inform us about the type of practice that we can have to address this social ill? This is how we'll be looking at that. And in the end, you discover that all these things that we're talking about here will probably be revolving around same issues that we always talk about. Power relations in a social structure could be culturally constructed. The culture can bring that highlight. That's how mafumo and our mafumo. It's not one. Yes. I mean, you in your family, in mafumo. Yes. No, why? No. You see, so that's a cultural issue. And that cultural issue, all elements, can subject an individual to oppression, right? To marginalization, and also can create that situation of inequality in the way that you interrelate with others and how you are connected. Specifically, for example, to the power that is, right? Why do people complain always? You are biased, you are this, you are all sorts of things, right? It is the issue of power and how we are raised. All these things we're talking about this issue. People think, okay, I'm marginalized, we are not required, we cannot support everything because. And find that you look at those, the issue of the power relations, right? How we look at power, how the structure dictates the use of that power, and also how we, as individuals, we also feel psychologically how that is. So, this is how you'll be able to look at that. Now, let me just look at a quick definition of oppressive practice. This is better. Instead of using the computer, let's talk. So people either don't take notes or you take notes. All you have to read. Right? Now, so how do we define it? Well, we define it as an oppressive practice is a dynamic process. Anything which is dynamic frequently changes, right? And it's a process. And processes are never static. They always change. And when you look at this thing, which is real self-practice, the practice itself is a dynamic process, which is based on the very complex changing patterns. Patterns are very complex and they always change. We talked about social power relations, the social structure, and how the layering is within the social structure. Now, these systems are never static. They are always in a state of dynamism, where they change, either to rid itself of archaic systems or to bring in new systems within. Sometimes to try and align itself to changing situations or conditions. It will change. So too, even the power relations within that type of structure can also change. So this is and oppressive practice is a dynamic process based on the changing complex patterns, the patterns of social relations. So it's a complex and dynamic process which deals with the patterns of change, how change occurs. You'll get your notes when we meet tomorrow. And tomorrow, another day. The interesting time is for good. Tomorrow, I'm not ready to go. But you're so that's it. So this is a process, right, where systems change and provide a pattern which defines our social relationships, right, in terms of interconnectedness and also how individuals relate to one another and also how individuals relate to institutions which are available in that social system, right? That's what we're talking about. So there will be social system and there will be other things within social system. I think the other thing we talked about before, the system theory, right? No, yes? No? Are you serious? No? Okay, no. You're not a you're a big guy for that. You'll get there. No? Okay. So, in a system, you have a lot of elements. A system we call it as a complete whole. It's a system usually is a complete whole. Right? Not the whole, but this one here. Now, inside that system, we always have a lot of elements which make up that system. And the functionality of the system is dependent on the things which are inside. Right? And the fact that they are inside this system does not mean that they always work in agreement. Sometimes they work in the opposite direction, right? And that's why we will get some conflicts around. And when we look at these things next year, or next year, you'll still be second year next year. I hope so. So when management within the system change sometimes, these are the things that we say will bring what we call the dynamic changes, right? Which bring us certain patterns. So certain patterns can occur on the way the system is going to operate, right? And one system may not work according to how other systems do to create conflict. And what we say is that conflict is not always bad. Conflict sometimes is very beneficial, right? Because it can bring positive change into that particular system. Now, when we're talking about the oppressive practice, after saying that, it is within the system, and in that system, we have that dynamic changes of the processes of the elements inside, which leads to a certain pattern of change, which actually defines how people inside the system relate to each other and how individuals in that system are connected with each other. Now, if I go back to our structure which I had down here, what this means is that this is our social structure, right? So this is our social structure. Okay, let me just do that. So our social structure, and social structure as a system, of course, is elements around. And within social structure, again, we have those who are top, those who are bottom, those who are also things around. Now, between the bottom and the top, there can be conflict. It's possible. So yes, these two ones are called or our can oppress this one. That's what we oppressive, right? Because there's the power and they can control the guys around. So sometimes there are conflict which can change the whole system, right? Sometimes positive or negative. Now, what this definition tells us is that yes, for us actually to practice in order to address issues of marginalization and cooperation or whatever it is, then we must look at what does the system contain and what pattern will come out if the system changes. Right? Now, I'm talking about the dynamism of the system. So we should be focusing on when those changes occur, what comes out. So to be the outcome now, right? Is this going to corrupt, for example? Or is it going to be safe? Or it's going to produce a new system around? So this is how we should understand. Now, we have a very, very long definition of how we can look at the anti-oppressive practice. Another definition of this is that when we are looking at these practices, it means we are, why do you, for example, would you think that the oppression of marginalization of individuals is bad or good? Who tells you that it's bad or good? Who would tell you that it's bad or it is good? And these people who have been oppressed, and these people who are oppressing others, who is there?
The people who are being oppressed.
Okay? Now, the question is, for you to understand that type of relationship between those who are being oppressed and those who are oppressing others, how do you understand? What are the dynamics? What are the issues that will make you really understand that this people are being oppressed? How do you know? How do you know?
No, that this one is being oppressed.
How do you know? I don't know what the system. Yeah, okay. There will always be something that will tell you. You measure the conditions of those who are oppressing others and those who are oppressed. How do you know that somebody is rich and somebody is poor, for example? How do you know that you are rich and he is poor? How can you do that? But so you observe, and when you are observing, will be the indicator. What happens? Measure it. You can't afford a meal the whole day, right? That's an indication of poverty, right? He puts on the slippers every day. It's a sign of something wrong, somewhere wrong. Oh, well, this is not I'm going to, right? And things like those. Now, when you look at this type of understanding and how you do it, you are actually evaluating the situation, right? You are evaluating the situation based on the indications or indicators that you get out of the situation. So, one of the definitions here is that an oppressive practice is an evaluative position. That's another. Because once you know that people are being observed or oppressed, there must be something that shows that they are oppressed, right? Yes. They may not compress, but somebody can come in and see, compare, right? And try to understand the situation in which those people are operating. That will be an evaluation over time, right? Yeah, so here, the other way to understand this type of practice is that it's an evaluating position that constructs social divisions, and especially for this one here. It's very easy. If you evaluate the situation in this particular social system, you find the divisions. Yes. That's why here you have issues of class, you have issues of status, you have issues of position, right? And all sorts of things here. And if you work further, you find that within that this arrangement here, you have some people who want to work for other people. Or these people, there are people in villages. How many of you have grown up in villages? How many of you have grown up in town?
How do you find them growing up in the village?
That's what I want to find out from you. Well, that's giving you a question. So before you answer, you tell me exactly what you understand by what I've said. How many of you have grown up in the village? No? How do you know that? But you can say I did it. So, what Cassia is never in law. Cassia is in law. Oh, dogmatism. Okay. So what I'm saying now is that you see that what we are trying to look at it based on the social structure that were constructed here is that it does give you that hierarchy and actually explains to you exactly what that social structure is. In other words, within that social structure, you are able to understand the type of relations which are there and also the connectedness of individuals within that type of system. And also, you find that apart from looking at individual interconnectedness and relations, you also have relations between individuals and organizations. Then, talk about the laptop here, I cannot use it. You can know which is so the judge. You can know. Yes? You can know which is. Which is? Oh. I'm going to do that. What yeah, so here we'll be looking at our social structure here, and as I said, it will actually tell you the situation that you are trying to look at. Now, if you look at the relationships that are available between individual and religion and institution or organization, you find that there's still that the top, bottom, up arrangement, which can bring conflict and also which can tell us the actual indicators of oppression among people in that particular structure. Now, for us to understand that, we have to look at a few things around. One, I promise you not, so don't bring them, don't cry. Okay. This is you selected and I put police arrest. Here, the relationship and interconnected individuals to the structure and all to institutions is based on power. So here, we are looking at the issue of power, and we shall see what actually that is as we proceed. Now, it is not only looking at power. Is power a good thing to hold? But is it a bad thing as well? The issue is here. We are looking at the issue of power, relations, and also the abuse of power. Why should somebody be oppressed? There must be somebody somewhere who is misusing his position or his power. So, in our practice, we look at that very, very seriously. We find that that power is not only based on individual to individual, but individual versus organization or an institution, right? That is so. Oppression can actually occur because of the power relations, where some have power to control over others, power of control over others, and others not. And also, it defines what social structures are and how social structures function. So that also is another issue which helps us to understand that. Now, the second issue is that issue where we look at the practice that must be understood from a historical or a social context, right? Is it possible that historically some people are low class, high class, upper class? You know that, right? Quite a lot. Whether from a historical or perspective, but also even from sociological perspective. I think when we were, last time we looked at class status and whatever, did we do that? Class status and no. Garlic and whatever. Have we we ever looked at that? Are you convinced that you have not? Yes. Because one of the networks is going to come. So you're right. Right? Here, we're looking at those types of arrangements where sociologically we have these things, the class and the status and something like that. Some of them are natural phenomena, but some of them are actually created. What it means that when we talk about that, class, whatever, so forth, we'll be looking at the position of an individual in a social structure or in a system, right? And that's the class to which that individual belongs. And as we look at them deeply, we shall see how we can classify them and also how can we attach individuals to those types of classifications to be able to understand the power relations and also the actual interactions that occur within that particular system. So, yes, you can have an individual belong to an upper class, or to a lower class, or some status, whatever it is, and status can also be divided into components. Achieved status, ascribed status, and all these things have quite a lot of issues to do with power. Right? Ascribed status is status which you just belong to by virtue of being part of that line of people, say by blood. Serious. I don't know what from the royal family. Even if when they're not from they belong to the royal family. Serious. Yes. That thing ascribed is not applied. I can't apply it to become a fool. Serious. What? That's what I told my senior chief the other day. He was bothering me every day. Must call me. How do I do it? What can I do? Well, this what can I do every day? Why don't I just apply to become a fool today? Because that one was a fool only. No, don't belong to that blood. What is that? What makes me that I can't run things of Yahweh without being from the blood? I can't.